All right, hello everyone, and welcome to our second Google training. Today we are going to be looking at Gmail and Google Calendar. We have a lot of tips for you. We're going to go beyond the basics, not show you how to write an email, but show you some of the things that might make your life a little easier in Gmail and Calendar. So let's go ahead and jump in to today's session. So first we're going to look at Gmail, and we have several things to talk about in Gmail. This is just my list to remind me of all the things I want to share with you. So first thing we're going to look at is templates, then schedule send, how to edit the subject, reply all versus reply, and BCC, snooze notifications, attach from Drive, phishing warnings and link previews, and undo send. So if you're following along today, you can open up your Gmail now. We'll spend half of our time today in Gmail, and then we'll move over to Calendar later. So I'm gonna exit my presentation and launch Gmail. I'm gonna apologize because my Gmail is a little messy, but that's what happens when we get a bunch of emails all day. So that's all right. So we have our Gmail up here. And the first thing I want to look at is templates. So what are templates? If I compose an email and I know that I write the same message maybe multiple times a week or even a couple times a month, and I don't want to have to copy that message and paste it into a new email each time. I just want to just pull that message up. That's what templates are for. So down here at the bottom where I have all of my tools and things that I can add into Gmail, and we'll look at a lot of these today, the three dots right here give me an option for templates. So what you're going to see is I have several templates already created. So I'm going to pull one up just to kind of show you what it would look like. Let's see. I'll do this one. So this one was a great one. So I have a ton of information here. It looks like I've got some links. I might have, yep, I've got a few different things. I've got a special signature on that. So I'm going to get rid of this signature that I have and just have this email up here. What's really nice about these, and let me actually see if I can find a template that has some spaces in it. But with these templates, what I am able to do is create um, almost uh, placeholders for things. So I did not create a placeholder here, but this information right here, which includes like the date, time, and session, is something that I would be able to edit. So if I know that I send an email to students all the time, I might say, we'll just start with hello, and then I might put student name, and then I'm going to highlight it just so that I remember next time to come in here and change that. So I've got my student name, and then here's my message to the student. Make sure that's not highlighted. So message to the student, really important information, and then maybe some custom stuff. So custom, maybe their grade level, something like that. So when I pull this template up, I know that I need to add information here in these yellow spots. But now I don't have to write this email every single time. All I'm going to do now that I've written this, so we'll call this a sample student email. Now that I've written this email as kind of my base of what I want to send, then I'll go to my three dots, click on templates, and scroll down to the bottom, and I want to save this as a template. And I can save it here as a new template. So I'm saving my new template. Done. I'm actually gonna get out of that. I'm gonna compose a new email, come back here to templates, and pull that one right back up. So now you can see that everything I wrote in that template comes right back up automatically, and then I can just go in and change the names, change any of those custom fields for that student. So this is just a nice way. A lot of people in our office will use it for, again, those emails that you're writing the exact same thing every single time and maybe changing a little bit of information in there. So those are templates within Gmail. Next up, we have, I'm going to remember this, Schedule Send. I love Schedule Send. Schedule Send allows you to write an email. I'm going to write an email to Lori that says hi. Or maybe I know that I'm going to be gone from the office tomorrow, but on Fridays, I always send the same message. I can write the message, add in my recipients and my subject. And then where I have the send button here, I don't want to send it yet. I want to click this little arrow and we have schedule send. Schedule send allows me to pick a specific day and time to send that email. So I can actually schedule several different emails to go out, throughout the next month, we'll say, as reminders for staff or for students. Or if I send out weekly tips or something like that, we can schedule those emails to be sent. If I come over here to where I would see all of my mail categories, I can come to my scheduled emails and see which ones I have scheduled. I don't currently have any. Actually, let's schedule this one to be sent on Monday. So now I see this scheduled email in here. If it turns out that I don't need to send it anymore, I need to schedule it for a different time, I need to add information to it, I can always come here and edit this. In order for me to edit it, I do have to cancel the send. Then it'll pop back up and allow me to edit anything that I need to. So that is schedule send within Gmail. All right. Next, we're going to look at editing the subject. All right. So I have an email and I need to forward it on to somebody, but I don't want them to see that FWD, that forward message. So I'm going to we'll go to this one. And I want to take this email from Megan and I'm going to forward it. But right now, the way this looks, I have no subject. Can't edit the subject at all. So if I need to edit the subject of this forwarded email, before I write who it's going to be to or write any message, I'm going to click right here next to, and I'm going to click edit subject. That's then going to pop the email out and I can kind of clean it up. So maybe I want to get rid of this. I'm going to get rid of this and maybe some of this information down here. So I can kind of fully edit the email and I might, forward this to Jenny or get somebody else's opinion on it. So I'm just forwarding a message and being able to edit that subject. So again, when I click right up here to forward, I'm going to click the next arrow and then edit subject. Edit subject allows me to edit what the message looks like and what that subject actually says. Okay, reply all and reply. We've all probably been a part of a reply all fiasco, we'll call it, where somebody sent an email to a whole department and we keep getting reply all to that email. So I want to share two things with you. The first one is if you are the first sender, you're the one that's going to send that email to a big group of people, there's something that you can do to prevent people using reply all. So what do? If I compose an email in my recipients, right here, in my recipients, instead of adding everybody here, so I'm going to go to IT Central Office. Instead of writing my email to IT Central Office, I'm going to come to the bottom right. I'm going to click BCC and I'm going to move this group down to BCC. So when they get that email, they don't even know what group it went to. Doesn't even show up. They have no option to reply all. They can only reply back to me. So BCC is a blind carbon copy, and it allows you to make sure that no one is going to reply all to your email. This is also really important if you are going to email parents. So if I email parents, I'm going to put all of them in BCC so that the recipients don't see everybody's email. Same thing with students. We don't want to see everybody's email. We want that to be a part of the BCC. Okay. So if it's right up here at the top, let me go back to that. Compose my email. Instead of clicking to or being in this section here, I'm going to click BCC and add my recipients there. All right, so that's to prevent them. For yourself, when you get an email, I'll go to this email here. You can see down at the bottom that I have reply, reply all, and forward. I like to default to reply. So that's why it's over here on the left-hand side. I can see that pretty clearly. If for some reason your buttons here are swapped and reply all is over on the left, we want to correct that. So we're going to go to our Gmail settings, see all settings. And then once that loads, the fifth option down is default reply behavior. And we want reply to be checked. I'm going to scoot that in a little bit. So default reply behavior and just reply is going to be checked. Now reply all is still going to be there, but by default, it's going to show that first option is going to be reply. So that's how to save yourself and maybe some others from reply all fiascos. Okay, snooze notifications. I personally love this one. This is like my favorite to do because I don't like to see a lot of email notifications. I want things to be read and over with. But maybe I know that I don't have time right now to address an email. So there's an email that I need to look at and I need to do something with, but I'm not ready to do that yet. So I want it to come back to my inbox when I'm ready to do something with it. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to snooze these emails. So I think I've snoozed most of my emails, but let me just see if I can find one. Okay, so I'm going to snooze this email from Jenny, and I just want it to come up maybe even after this meeting right now. So I've got the email from Jenny and I have the little clock right here. If I click on this clock, it gives me the option to choose when to snooze that email for. So I could say, maybe this is something that I know I need to address on Monday. It's just going to sit in my inbox all weekend, and I don't want that to constantly show up. So I'm going to snooze it until Monday. I can also pick a specific date and time. So very similar to scheduling an email to be sent at a certain time, you can snooze an email to come back to your inbox at a certain time, which is fantastic. There is one other piece to snoozing emails that's not actually in this area. It's going to be in our settings. So I'm going to go back to my settings. And we are going to scroll down to the area called nudges. You may have noticed this. I don't know if it's on by default. I feel like mine was, but I could be totally wrong. But if you don't have it on, I want to explain what nudges are. Nudges are somebody has sent you an email and you forgot to respond to it. Happens to me sometimes. I don't want to say all the time because that sounds terrible, but it does happen to me. If it happens to me within a few days, it's going to bring it back to the top of my inbox and it's going to say, hey, it looks like you forgot to reply to this email. Do you want to reply to it? And then I can go ahead and reply to it, or I can say, nope, I don't need to reply to it. Maybe the teacher called me about something or whatever. So that's like emails that I have to reply to. That's this first option here. The next one is Emails I have sent. Okay. I've sent the email. I know I sent the email. I never got a response from the teacher, or I never got a response from the student, or I never got a response from the parent. It's going to remind me that I sent that email, and I feel like it's somewhere between 3 and 5 days. It's going to remind me that I sent that email and say, hey, it looks like you haven't gotten a reply. Do you want to follow up with this person? And then I can take any actions that I need to. So it's just a nice reminder, and it helps you, again, keep that email inbox clean, but then also make sure that you are checking in on those people that you might need to follow up with. Okay. Flying through our Gmail ones. Okay, attached from Drive. I love this too because I'm sharing things constantly with people. I'm attaching things to an email, but I don't remember if I shared that item with them. So if I compose an email to Lori and I say, check this out, and I'm going to add something from my Google Drive. So I'll put some information into this. And then down here along the bottom, we already saw this area when we went to our templates. But down along the bottom, I've got insert files using Drive. So when I select this, it's going to pull up any of my recent files, and I will select this one because I know Lori does not have this. I'm going to add it as a link. So it's just going to be right here in my email. And I'm going to say, hey, could you open this file and take a look at the data? But when I click send, it's going to give you a notification that says, hey, this person or these people don't have access to this, which is great. Instead of getting a request for access, it's automatically going to let me know, hey, you need to give access to this person. So there's 3 options here. I can say, hey, I want to specifically share it with Lori, and I'm going to give her either viewer, commenter, or editor access. We kind of covered those things in our Google Drive training. Maybe it's like a big group and I'm expecting that that big group might be sharing this out beyond me. So I'm just going to allow everybody at TSC to view, comment, or edit it. Or finally, I don't want to give them access. Well, why would I not want to give them access if I put something in an email? Because I want them to specifically request the access. So I'm going to put it in the email. Lori's going to get it. She's going to click request access, and then it will let me know. It's almost like I'm seeing who actually clicked on the link to access that item. So I can choose any of those 3 options, and then I click send, and it has automatically updated those sharing settings for me on that sheet. And I don't have to remember to do that before I actually attach it to an email. Okay, phishing warning and link preview. This is really just as we want to keep you safe. We actually just had some phishing emails go out yesterday. So this happens all the time for us. We're going to look at an email. I'm going to actually pull up this Amazon Web Services one. So I've got this Amazon Web Services. There's a couple of different things that I see with this. I see that it's from an external email. So that's outside of my organization. So 1, do I recognize that email? The other thing I see right here though is that this vendor has, or the sender has been verified, and we know, or Google is letting me know, this is a verified email address and it should be good to go. Okay. But if I scroll through here and I want to click on this link, and I don't know that it's a verified person, what can I do to make sure that I'm clicking on the right things or that it's okay? So I scroll back up to the top, and the 3 dots next to where I would reply to this allow me to show the original message. And then it's essentially going to run a little scan for me. And the 3 areas that I'm looking for are these. Okay, these 3 areas. I want to see pass on the first 2 for sure. DMARC may not have pass all the time, but these top 2, I definitely want to see pass on that. okay? That just lets me know the email is good for me to engage with or click on or whatever. What if it doesn't pass? Or what if I get an email like from somebody trying to impersonate Dr. Handback and I know that it's phishing or I know that it's not good? There's a few different things you can do. You can click this phish alert and it's going to send it to our team. If that doesn't work, the three dots right here, you can also report phishing right here. So I am able to report these things back to our team. This is very helpful for us because if it is a real phishing email, we can pull that from others' inboxes. Typically, if it is a real phishing email, you're not the only one that got it. So we're going to help protect other people out in TSC from opening up that email on accident. So that is just ways to keep you safe in your Gmail. The last piece, we're going to go back to our settings, and I just want to go through a few of the settings that we have available. If I click here to see all settings, we went through some of these things already, but the first one I want to talk about in this list is going to be undo send. If I send an email, by default, it's going to send that email within 5 seconds of me pressing send. So if I need to pull that email back, I only have 5 seconds to do that. So I want to show you how you can lengthen that cancellation period. So click that drop down right there, and I always recommend 30 seconds. Now, what this does mean is your email is going to sit kind of in holding for 30 seconds, and then you can undo it. So if I go back here and I compose an email to Lori, and it's a really angry email, we're just going to imagine that I have written something to her that is not nice and I'm just so mad. I have this email and I want to click send. I do, and then immediate regret. And I go, oh, probably shouldn't do that. I'm going to click undo down here. Remember, it's a ticking time bomb. I've got 30 seconds to recall that email and pull it back. And then if I want to, maybe rephrase my wording and send her a nicer email, or I can just delete it completely and say, I'm just not going to even send the email. All right, scrolling down after undo send, we already talked about reply and reply all. Keep scrolling. Conversation view. So if conversation view is turned on, that means that if people reply to emails, you can see I have a couple here where you see multiple names on there. If people reply to emails, it keeps all the emails together. This is a personal preference. We have people that do conversation view, people that don't do conversation view, but that's what conversation view does, is it keeps all those emails together. So if I click back on the student one, you can see Mr. Wildbaker sent me an email. I responded, then the student responded. So all of those emails just stay nice and nestled together in my inbox so I can reference back to them. Continuing to scroll down, the next section is going to be your signature. So your email signature. This area, we recommend adding your email signature in here, but there's two things I want to point out. The first one is that you can actually have multiple signatures. So as most of you know, I work in the tech department, but I also happen to work in TOA. So I'm working in the online high school. So I could create a TOA signature to use when I'm sending emails specifically for TOA. So I've got a new signature and I have a TOA signature. How do I decide which one I'm going to use? If I click compose here, again, those buttons along the bottom right there, I have a insert signature option. And then I can choose which signature is actually going to go in that email. Just allows me to kind of customize it without having to customize every single time I want to change that signature. The other thing that you'll see here is that I have a reply signature. This allows me to have a signature for a new email and a different signature for a reply email. So once I create that second signature using this create new button, then I can choose which signature do I want to use for new emails, which signature do I want to use for reply emails. Why do I do that? You can see here I have pictures in my email signature. If I don't want those pictures to show up every single time I reply to an email, that reply is really helpful. So by clicking reply, the only thing that they're going to see in my signature is this, Sarah Margison, TSC Technology Department, really short, because they already have my original signature. So it just kind of keeps things clean in there. All right, if I do make any changes, I will want to save those changes to make sure that they continue. Last few things in here, we've got some quick settings so you can go through these on your own. What type of email inbox do you want? Do you want the reading pane to the right of the inbox, below the inbox, all of those things. And then the last piece, we won't get too far into this, but filters and blocked emails. We can create filters in Gmail to add specific labels to our emails. So let's say I want to label all of Lori's emails to me. Okay, so emails from Lori, it's going to create a search. So we've got all the emails that Lori has sent me. And then I'm going to come to this show search options. I want to say it's from Lori and it's to me. I'm going to create a filter and then it will ask me, what do you want to do with that filter? So I want to mark the or add a label to this and create a new label called Lori. So it's going to send that email to my inbox unread, and it's also going to have a little tag on it that says Lori. Maybe there are emails though, like I've signed up for something that I don't want to see in my inbox at all. Could be like a newsletter or I'm a part of like a big listserv. So like a bunch of people from around the state send all these emails. I don't want them to come to my inbox. I want them to go into my mail where I can view them, but maybe not actually see them come through every single time because that would be a lot of emails. So I can say skip the inbox and archive that email. I would be very careful with which ones you're going to do that with because you're not going to see them then unless you actually go looking for them. But applying a label is an easy way to label all those emails from a specific person. Let's see if I can get my Lori emails pulled up now. So I've got these Lori emails. Once she sends me an email, it's going to send it to that label there. You can see I have lots of labels in here, whether they are sending to my inbox or immediately going to that label, they're all going to be nestled within there. All right, I believe those are all of our Gmail tips. We're going to move over into Google Calendar now. We're going to look at creating events, creating some recurring events, how we access building calendars, Google Meet, some Google Meet settings, if you are a Google Meet user, if you're setting up Google Meet, toggling over to Google Tasks, appointment schedules, and offering a time you're free to work on or to schedule a meeting with somebody. So going over to my Google Calendar, it's giving me a notification that I have an event right now, and I do. So I've got my Google Calendar right here. On the left-hand side, I have all the calendars that are available to me. This is my calendar here. You can see I'm a big calendar user, so I've got a lot of things on there. But if I want to create an event, I can either click on the day or click this create an event. Once I create the event, I'm able to add some details to it. So obviously I can add a title to that. These are basic things. You probably know how to do a lot of this. But when I go to add a date or time, like a specific date or time, I can select if this event is going to repeat. And then I can say it's going to repeat daily, weekly, monthly, annually, every day, like every weekday, or customizing it. So maybe I want it to always be, I don't know, maybe it's like every 3 weeks I want it to show up, something along those lines. So I'm able to customize and set those repeating and recurring events. If I have a recurring event, which I'm sure that I do have a recurring event. I will find one. We've got this recurring event here. If I'm going to maybe say no to Devin, or I'm going to adjust that recurring event, it's going to ask me, do you want to make a change to this event, and any other events, or all events? So that's like from all of time. So I can decide how I want to change those recurring events if it's something that I'm going to do kind of in mass with my responses. So that's both creating events and recurring events. The next thing I want to show you within here is how do we add some more details within this, and what important things might we need in there. So if I go to the bottom of this and I click more options, this is where I'm going to get kind of everything for my event. So we already know how to add our title, date, whether or not it repeats. If this is something, maybe I'm setting up a Google conference for somebody else. So I want to add some Google Meet information. I'm going to add a guest to this event, but I actually want Lori to be the host. I'm not going to be the host, even though I'm setting up the event. I want her to be the host of this Google Meet. So right here on the right-hand side of my join with Google Meet, I have a little gear wheel. If I click on that gear wheel, this allows me to manage those guests and add a co-host. This is important because if I am setting the meeting up for Lori and I'm the host, Lori can't start the meeting without me. Well, what if I'm not planning on attending it? I'm just setting it up for her. That's when it becomes a problem. So Lori needs the ability to also host this meeting. I can also choose other host controls in here and whether or not it's open or restricted, or however I want to allow people to gain access to that email. I'm able to do that here. So that is adding a Google Meet to an event, and adding a co-host to that event. All right, let's talk about some resource calendars. So if you're not familiar with these, there are several types of resource calendars, and I want to go through two. I'm going into the TSC website and going to the staff portal because one of the types of resource calendars are what we call school calendars. These are calendars that are managed by your building and might contain important events for the building. So just depending on your school, you might see different information on there. So we have a building calendar as well as professional development calendars set up for each building. Every building uses these differently. So if you click on your school and there's nothing on there, that's because they probably don't use that calendar. So I'm going to click on Kohl's building calendar. Let's see if I picked the right one. Yep, pick the right one. So these are all the events that are on Kohl's building calendar. Now I want this to show up in my Google Calendar and I want it to update automatically. So all the way down at the bottom, it's going to be very hard to see on my screen. I apologize. It says add to Google Calendar. This allows me to add this view to my Google Calendar so that it shows up in my options over on the left-hand side. So it just makes it a little easier for me to see maybe what's going on in my building for that day. The other type of resource calendar that we have, let me go back to creating an event, are room calendars. And just depending on your role in the building, you might have access to book rooms in your building for certain meetings, for purposes. So in my case, I'm a central office employee. So there are boardroom calendars that I'm able to book, or small conference rooms, or the superintendent's conference room, but I want to book a room. So I'm going to pick a specific date and time. We'll go the 28th at 10 a.m. So I want to see what rooms are available. So over here on the right-hand side, I can choose the superintendent's conference room seems to be available for that. And then I'm going to add my event. So I'm going to say this is a meeting. When I click on that meeting and click save, it's going to add it to the calendar, and it's not going to let anyone else book that room for that time slot. So it just makes it easy for me to reserve a space within my building. If you're not sure if your building uses these room calendars or even those building calendars, check with your principal. They should know if that's something active that is used around the building. All right, toggle to tasks. I'm a list person. I'm actually a paper list person though, so this one's a little harder for me, and you're gonna see that I don't have a ton of things, but I really want to try this because I think it's kind of cool the way it interacts with your Google Calendar. So when I am on my calendar view here, I have something called tasks. It's kind of hiding though, so I have to find it. Over in the right-hand corner up at the top, next to where it says month, or maybe you might have week view, I've got my calendar view here, and then I have a little circle with a check mark. If I click on that circle with a check mark, yeah, I don't use these, but that's okay. I've got tasks here. So I'm going to add a task. This is sort of a to-do list. I actually have a task today. I need to write the TOA teacher tip, and I need to do it this afternoon because it has to be scheduled by tomorrow. So here, and I'm gonna say like add survey because I know I have to do that. So I need to write my TOA teacher tip. I need to add the survey to it, and I have to do it this afternoon. So I want to say today. I probably have time maybe at 2 o'clock. That's not bad. If it's a recurring event, like maybe weekly, I need to do this, which I do. Maybe I'm gonna say weekly. I want to every week, and I'm gonna have it end on the last Thursday and click done. Okay, so now I have this little tip here. Write the TOE teacher tip, add the survey today at 2 o'clock, and it's going to repeat every Thursday. That's fine. But what if I never go over to that tasks area? Well, within my calendar, I kind of showed you over on the left-hand side here that I have multiple calendars. So I've got my Google Calendar, but you should also see a calendar called tasks. That's by default. So if you have a task that has been scheduled, let's see, mine is not showing up. Not sure why, but that's okay. So if I schedule a task to complete, it's going to show on my calendar for that week. Okay, so I've got this task today, will show up on my calendar at 2 p.m. to remind me to do this. When I'm done, then I can click completed, and that task then is going to go away. I can also delete the task or star the task, and it just makes it a little easier for me to kind of organize some of the things that I need to do. If I hop back to my email, I'm going to see that same icon over here tasks. So I see my tasks over here as well. So it's a little easier to organize the things that I might need to do because I can see it both in my Gmail and my calendar. Did you also know that you can access your calendar over here as well? So it's going to show me any items that are going to be done today. There we go. I just needed to give it a little time to show up. So now I've got this task right here. If I click on that, I can say it's completed. It's not completed yet, so I'm not going to click on it. But once it's completed, then it's going to cross it off my list and take it off of my calendar. Let me go back here and see if we can see that task now. Nope, it hasn't done it yet on this calendar. That's okay. So we'll see that task arrive on our calendar. And it just helps us keep those reminders, at the forefront here so that I can remember to do things during the day. There we go. There's my write the TOA teacher tip. So I typically create recurring events to remind myself to do things, but I can switch those recurring events over to tasks very easily. And then they'll show up on my calendar at a specific time. All right, next up, we have appointment schedules. If you are somebody that regularly meets with people and you like to kind of have a space for them to go to schedule an appointment with you, that's always open, that's where appointment schedules would be helpful. So if I select an appointment schedule, it gives me the options to make myself available at specific times. So I just want to show you what mine looks like. Um, in this appointment schedule here, you can see I have 30-minute time blocks that I'm available on specific days. So you can see here, somebody would be able to book an appointment with me. What you might notice is on these days, like here I've got 8:30 and to 10:30, but 8:30 to 9 on this one. That's because there is an event on my calendar during that time, so I'm actually not available. So these are only the times that I'm available, and then somebody would be able to book an appointment with me. So if you're interested in this, you're welcome to reach out to our team. We're happy to help you set up those appointment schedules. If you're not somebody that regularly meets with people and maybe it's just occasionally you are trying to set up a meeting with somebody, there's actually an easier way to do it in Gmail. So for our last tip, we're going to look back at our Gmail and I'm going to compose a new email. I've got my new email right here and I'm going to send it to Lori. And again, along the bottom here, we visited this a lot today. I've got a little calendar. So I want to set up a time to meet. I am going to offer times that I'm free. I know that we need to meet for an hour. So I'm going to set up maybe times on Monday whoops, not that many times. that I'm going to do these times on Monday, maybe a little longer. It's going to be an hour. And I'm going to add it to my email. So when Lori sees the email, this is what she sees. She will actually see proposed times to meet and then be able to select one of these options. It'll add it to her calendar and it'll add it to my calendar. So it's just a quick way to book an appointment with somebody if you need to schedule a meeting. All right, the last two things I want to quickly go through are some keyboard shortcuts. So we talked today about Gmail, and these are our Gmail keyboard shortcuts. The ones that we probably like the best are Control-Shift-V, that pastes without formatting. And then our typical ones of like Control-C, Control-V, copy and paste. And if I hop over to my Google Calendar settings, these are kind of fun. If I'm navigating through my calendar, maybe I'm in a future date. To get back to today's date, I can actually just tap the letter T, and that's going to take me back to today's date. If I want to switch between day, week, and month view, I just tap the letters DWM. I can create an event, go to my agenda view, or search for somebody. So those are our keyboard shortcuts for Google Calendar. I am going to ask Lori right now to just pop in the check-in form on in the chat, and I want you to go ahead and fill that check-in form out. Our next meeting is going to be February 12th, and we will be talking about sheets and forms. So Google Sheets and Google Forms, how those things kind of work together and how you can use those in your school. Thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, feel free to stick around. I'm going to stop my recording so that they don't have to